अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. First of all, I'm very much thankful to my Guru, Dr. K. Krishna Sharma sir, for providing me this wonderful opportunity to present before in this prestigious webinar. So I'll be taking up the topic common disorders and yogic therapy. So in this topic, I have divided this into three parts. Part number one will be having human bodily system, list of human bodily systems and disorders and diseases of bodily systems. And part number two is having concept of disease in yoga and yogic therapy principles and how the limbs of yoga, or specifically yoga therapy limbs, are helpful to overcome different types of disorders. And in part number three, I'll be discussing with three examples, three diseases, or we can also call it as disorders. Hypothyroidism, how that will impact hypothyroidism, and I'll be discussing about PCOD, how the manochikatsa or the counseling is helpful to overcome this PCOD, and the respiratory disorders, how we can overcome these respiratory disorders with the help of kriyas, asanas, pranayamas, and other yogic techniques. So I'll be starting with part number one, the systems of human body. Human body has different systems like cardiovascular system, respiratory system, digestive system, excretory system, endocrine system, musculoskeletal system, nervous system, immune and lymphatic system. So when these systems are in coherence, then that can be considered as good health. Any imbalance in these systems, or because of the effect of one system, if there is any imbalance in the coherence between these systems, that will affect the whole body and that will lead to multiple disorders or diseases. So coming to the common diseases, what we see in the society now, mainly that is the number one cause is obesity. Then we have diabetes mellitus. So like this, I have given this number of diseases, or we can also call it as disorders of health system, or disorders of the body or bodily systems. So these will be having lot of effect over our body, and that will impact physically as well as mentally. So apart from these common disorders or diseases, season wise, for example, now in Karnataka or in Mangalore, we are having monsoon season. So the common diseases arise in these monsoon times are like fever or hepatitis or cough, cold. These are all the common diseases what we see in monsoon system or monsoon time. So to overcome all these disorders or diseases, we need a holistic type of approach. Just by having symptomatic treatment is not enough. In order to get that type of good health, by removing the root cause of that disease can be done with the help of yogic system. So that we will see now. The part two is yogic system. So let us understand the yoga first, and then we'll move on to yogic therapy. So yoga is a traditional science of India. It is one among the 6 philosophies, and it is an experiential science. That is very important. It is an experiential science. Even Maharshi Patanjali has been described in his Patanjali Yoga Sutra that Atha Yoga Anushasanam, it has to be practiced, and it has this yogic system has been contributing to the human healthcare system from time immemorial. Yoga is simple, safe, and highly cost effective. The term yoga is used to indicate both the end as well as the means or the methods. In the sense of end, the word yoga signifies the integration or the highest level of concentration, or we may call it as samadhi also, or Another meaning is means or the methods, how we can achieve this highest level of concentration, and that part covers yoga. Now, concept of disease, or we may call it as disorder. Disease, see, strictly speaking, the yoga is mainly focuses on the holy mind and the spirit. So it is mainly to achieve the state of samadhi. Now, in order to reach that samadhi state, we need to go for many practices. We need to do sadhana. So this sadhana is not possible if you do not have good health. So therefore, there is large impact of yogic practices that will help to boost our immunity system, to boost our other physiological functions, and ultimately that will end up in getting good health. So therefore, yoga therapy is actually a byproduct, but we can use it very systematically to get good health. So the in concept of disease or vyadhi, vyadhi means disease. So in yogic terminology, we can say that it is vyadhi. So to understanding purpose, we may say it as psychophysiological disturbances or any kind of discomfort or dis-ease. There is no easiness. Therefore, it is called as dis-ease. And these diseases can be classified into two. Number one is acute, means suddenly developed diseases, suddenly developed disorders, or chronic. Here, the history of the disease is longer, means from longer duration we are facing this type of disease or disorders, that is chronic. So how this develop? So we must understand how these develop. Imbalance in circulatory system, that means circulation of the blood, circulation of the lymph. So any imbalance in circulatory system will lead to diseases, as well as imbalance in neuromuscular and neuroglandular reactions, that means nervous system and muscular system, as well as nervous system and glandular system or the endocrine system. So these reactions, when there are some imbalances, then that will lead to some type of diseases or disorder. Now, according to yoga, we have to understand these diseases in two ways, or we can treat these diseases in two types or in two methods. So they are, number one is investigate the offending factor and eradicate it, just remove it. And the second type is develop the immunity. So develop the antibodies so that body fight against the pathogens. So that both of these can be practiced in the form of shaucha, cleanliness, removing the impurities, and developing positive attitude and relaxation, mainly to boost the immunity. Now we have seen in our previous in this webinar, the previous presenter, Dr. Kamakhya Kumar, in his research also, he has mentioned that the positive attitude and relaxation boosts our immunity. So in these two ways, we can treat many of the disorders. Now looking at the yogic therapy principles, there are three things. Number one is cultivation of correct psychological attitude. That means the mental attitude that has to be developed properly, and this is the most important part of yoga therapy, like practice of yama niyamas or the sleep patterns, sleep habits, and the social attitude what we have, and overcoming the kleshas like raga, dvesha, or avidya, and attaining chitta prasadana, calmness of the mind. So these are the most important part of yoga therapy, or the that can be considered as cultivation of correct psychological attitude. Anyway, I'll be going to explain how the PCOD, for the treatment of PCOD, this part helps. And the second one is reconditioning of neuromuscular, neuroglandular systems. If there is any imbalance in neuromuscular or neuroglandular system level or their reaction level, then rectifying or reconditioning that, or psychophysiological mechanisms. We can call it as like this. And see, we can use different yogic practices like kriyas or asanas, pranayama techniques, bandha mudra, meditation techniques, relaxation techniques, all these techniques in order to recondition the neuromuscular and neuroglandular systems. And finally, the third part is proper diet, the most important part here, because we get proper nutrients in the form of our food. So food is what we are. So even the Panchakosha theory says that we or our body is developed due to our food, and therefore that is called as Annamaya Sharira or Annamaya Kosha. Here most important thing is conversion of dhatus. So we know that there are sapta dhatus, rasa, rakta, mamsa, like this sapta dhatus are. So here whatever food we eat, that has to be digested properly, that has to be converted properly. Here now the biggest mistake what we are doing nowadays is we are looking into the food in the by just in the form of nutrients. We are looking into the food, how much nutrients they have, not that how it is digested in our body. So we have to look into how the effect of diet on our body, not like how much proteins or how much vitamins it has. Now the therapeutical procedure, how we can go for yogic therapy to overcome the common diseases. So there are 7 parts in therapy. Number 1 is lifestyle modification. Number 2, practice of kriyas or the cleansing processes. And then we have asanas, then pranayama practices, and bandhas and mudras, mainly for energy channelization and practice of meditation and relaxation. These are the 7 parts of yoga therapy. So I will explain with the example that how each part is very important and how, see, we can apply any one of these or all the 7. So looking into the disease or looking into the patient, we can get to know that which limb we have to apply and which limb are to be excluded. So that we can do accordingly. Now, how these are helpful in order to get good health or to overcome from many of the disorders. So kriyas are the purificatory techniques we know, and in Hatha Yoga Pradipika it is been told that there are 6 types of kriyas: Dauti, Basti, Neti, Trataka, Nauli, and Kapalabhati. Mainly these are to be practiced by the one who is having excess of fat or phlegm. So Medas Shleshmadhikyah Purvam Shatkarmani Samacharet. So these Medas and fat are impurities. So for example, now we are struggling with this COVID-19. We are suffering with this because of this COVID-19, and the main reason of developing this virus in the body is whenever there is that type of congenial atmosphere. That means when we have malakatha in the body, so that will help in the growth of these type of viruses. So in order to overcome that, best thing is practicing different types of kriyas, of course according to the body nature. These techniques are used to cleanse and maintain a healthy nasal passage, eyes, sinus cavities, stomach, intestines, and anal passages, etc. And these are practiced in the beginning. That means before practicing asanas, you must practice kriyas. If at all you are practicing kriyas, means after practicing other yogic limbs like asanas, pranayamas, you shouldn't come back to kriyas. First practice kriyas and then go for the next level of practice. And role of asanas, as Hatha Pradipika describes, we get mental and physical steadiness. That is most important thing. We should overcome stress. We should get that samatva and good health, feeling of lightness. So because of the many physiological functions get activated while practicing asanas, or we get proper blood circulation, proper circulation of the limb, and proper removal of waste products by the practice of different types of asana. I'm not saying that only one type of asanas to be practiced, but all types of practices according to the need of the patient we have to implement. Then coming to the role of pranayama, it is a technique of breathing and breath retention to increase the amount of prana available to our body. So not only this, apart from that, we have benefit of controlling the mind or control over chitta vrittis. Chalevate chalam chittam, nischale nischalam bhavet. So that can be achieved by the practice of pranayama. And we need concentration. Any activity requires concentration. So at that point, the breath stops for a while. So I have given the example as threading the needle. So when you thread a needle, so we need a lot of concentration. We need the utmost level of concentration, and at that point of time, for a minute or for a moment, breath stops. So the concentration level improves whenever we are able to control the breathing. Pranayama aims primarily at the control on the mind. When the mind is at standstill, no thought process or emotional disturbance is possible. Then coming to the bandhas and mudras, of course, mudra, mudam rati iti mudra, which gives happiness and which is helpful to direct the energy or direct the prana into a particular direction. And bandha is practice of contracting one's muscles and organs to hold energy in a specific region, because these energies are helpful to rejuvenate and to cure many of the illnesses. Now, meditation and relaxation, both I'll cover in one slide. The practice of concentrating the mind to a particular object, so that can be considered as dhyana, tatra pratyekatanata dhyanam, and it involves a type of inner attention that is quiet, concentrated, and at the same time which is relaxed. The relaxation is very, very necessary in order to get rejuvenated. See, cellular level rejuvenation takes place only during relaxation. Therefore, practice of meditation, practice of relaxation techniques like Shavasana or Yoga Nidra is most important in yoga therapy. Many times, people will just practice asanas, pranayamas, and then just go. So that is not the right method of practicing. Practicing Shavasana, when we have only 30 minutes, let it be. Practice 20 minutes of other practices and go for 10 minutes of Shavasana. So control the mind, focus on breathing, and get properly relaxed. That will help in cellular rejuvenation, and that will help to overcome many of the diseases. So now I'll take up 3 examples. The first one is hypothyroidism. So I see, as we discussed earlier, there are 7 limbs, 7 parts in yoga therapy. So among these 7, so I'll concentrate on the diet in hypothyroidism, and I'll concentrate on the development of psychological attitude in PCOD, and I'll concentrate on kriyas, asanas, pranayamas in respiratory disorders. That doesn't mean that other limbs are not necessary, not like that, but we have to give more importance to these things. Now, so when it comes to the hypothyroidism, it is a state where rasa and majja dhatus are imbalanced. So it is very sensitive. See, assuming it is only due to pituitary and thyroid gland is our foolishness. See, just blaming pituitary gland, blaming thyroid gland is not. So we have to consider the symptoms. We have to look at the symptoms. What are the symptoms it has? For example, it has the symptoms of rasa imbalance like wrinkles, hair fall, lack of menstrual flow, delayed periods, and weight gain and tiredness. These are all the symptoms of imbalance in rasa. That means either rasa might have reduced or the quality of rasa might have reduced. And it also has the symptoms of majja dhatu imbalance like anemia. Anemia means lack of RBC, lack of hemoglobin. So where exactly this blood cells, means red blood cells, are developed, they are produced, they are in majja, bone marrow. So this is because of imbalance in majja dhatu and deterioration of bones, excess growth of nails and other dental problems. So these are all comes under majja dhatu imbalance. So therefore we have to look into this hypothyroidism in terms of rasa and majja dhatu imbalance, and to overcome what we can do. See, there are particular diet for that, and there are some lifestyle modification we have to do. So here the first thing is easily digestible balanced diet one has to consume, and the food has to be cooked properly in water. That means we have to avoid fried food items and food which is having very less water. For example, chapati. See, now usually what happens, see, they usually gain weight. So in order to reduce weight, see, all are suggesting to eat chapati. But that will affect adversely because already rasa is reduced. Now further it will reduce, or see, to digest. For example, either it may be chapati or it may be, I'm not saying that one shouldn't eat wheat. You have to be very careful here. I'm not saying that you shouldn't eat wheat, chapati. Okay, where we are using very less amount of water. Now, if you eat such items, what exactly happening in the body? So here, see, when you eat these, to digest that, the rasa or the water is required, and that will absorb water or rasa from the body itself, and that will lead to further reduction of rasa in the body. And avoid all the stimulants like tea, coffee, and the products like maida, sugar, and black gram. Again, that will lead to armor, and fried food and other millets. They also absorb water from the body. So that has to be avoided. And don't go for over exercise. Don't do excess of walking also. That will eventually will lead to some problems in the joints or pain in the legs and nothing else. So therefore, we have to be very careful about diet in hypothyroidism. So apart from these food habits, however, whatever you practice you do, that will have limited effect. Now coming to the next example, PCOD, polycystic ovarian disease, or PCOS also can be called as polycystic ovarian syndrome. So now coming to this PCOD, see, there are three types or three level of treating this PCOD. First one is food, and if required, some herbal medicines. And the second part is manochikitsa, and the third part is daiva prarthana or ishvara pranidhana in terms of yogic terminology. Now why these three are important? Anyway, we have seen food, and if required we can go for some herbal medicines, so that is there. Now see, the nervous system and endocrine systems are greatly influenced by mind. So therefore, the production of or the secretion of hormones and the the impulse passage, that means the function of nervous system, are influenced by the activity of the mind. So nowadays many of the younger generation, the college students level, we are seeing lot of PCOD cases, especially the ladies or girls who are too ambitious to achieve something. That means, see, it may be anything. I'm not telling any example here. It may be anything. They want to achieve something. So now you have to understand, so what are the difference between the motherhood and achieving the other things. Okay, so the hormones are entirely different for motherhood and other achievements. So if you are ambitious to achieve something, you have to do excel in something, you have to focus on that, and that will not help in motherhood. Similarly, if you love motherhood, if you want to be a mother, then that will not help to achieve something else. So they are contradictory. So therefore, develop a kind of soft nature, develop a kind of calm nature, and you have to love yourself, and that will help to secrete the hormones properly, and that is called as manochikitsa, or even we can call it as counseling. Convince them. So that is most important. Otherwise, whatever other practices you do will have a limited effect only. It will not cure completely. And the third part is Daiva Prarthana or Ishvara Pranidhana. So see, the progeny is a continuation of generation. So it is his wish, means the supreme reality, or even what we call it as God. So his wish whether to continue or not that generation. So with due devotion, you have to surrender to the Supreme. If he wishes to continue that, then the success is for sure. So therefore, all the three level of treatment is more important here. So therefore, just looking at food system is not enough, or just looking at the practice is not enough. We have to consider other parts also. That is what I have discussed in previous slide itself. See, we may consider all the 7, or we may look into 1 or 2 limbs of yoga therapy. When it comes to the respiratory disorders, so here, apart from all other limbs, so we have to focus on kriyas, asanas, and pranayama techniques. Why means, see, the kriyas like Kapalabhati, Neti, Dauti, Agnisara, all these are helpful to remove excess kapha from the body, excess mala kapha. So practice of these are essential because most of these are there above the chest region, means that is the location of kapha, location of kapha that will lead to these type of disorders, and we can overcome by removing these kapha in by the help of these kriyas. Of course, these kriyas are made for excess of fat and phlegm, and improve the circulation. If there is a congestion, remove it. Expand your lungs by means of asana practice. For example, Bhujangasana. For example, Ushtrasana. For example, Dhanurasana. If possible, do these practices. Improve your digestion with the help of Paschimottanasana or Ardha Matsyendrasana, Trikonasana, Parshvakonasana, Bharadwajasana. So improve the digestion. And there is in to overcome these type of disorders. So like this, when we are here to treat the different types of patients, different types of illnesses, so we can use different types of yoga therapy techniques. So even in respiratory disorders, we can use different types of pranayama techniques in order to expand the lungs. For example, Bhastrika is useful to improve the lung functions. Anuloma Viloma is useful to improve the lung functions. So it will improve the vital capacity, improve the respiratory volumes, different types of respiratory volumes, especially the forced expiratory volume in first to second, FEV1. So this we have seen in our department. Professor Krishna Sharma sir, with his guidance, we have done this project and we have done this study, and we have seen that we can largely improve the FEV1 with the help of pranayama practices. So by adopting all these things, by adopting all these methods, we can really improve the quality of life in patients. We can overcome different types of common disorders what we are seeing in this society. People are, see, just because of the ignorance, they are suffering from many of the illnesses, many of the disorders. Just get the coherence between the different systems, follow the proper diet, and at least spend 45 minutes to 1 hour for the other yogic techniques. That will improve a lot, improve the quality of life. And we can live happily. That is what we need ultimately. Happiness. Even the in the book Sapiens, called Sapiens. So there Yuval Noah Harari writes, so with a lot of research, he writes that what humans need is happiness. So that we can get it by following yogic method, yogic lifestyle. We can, even though we can cure many of the illnesses with the help of yoga, but it is better to prevent your other diseases with the help of yoga. Okay, thank you for the given opportunity. Thank you, one and all.